The way of surrender is really about trusting the natural wisdom of life and living with an attitude of acceptance, going with the flow, one might say. A way of being in the world that reconnects us with that childlike sense of wonder and joy. Hello, my name's Mike Jenkins from the Hamlin Vision, and I just wanted to talk for a few brief moments, and I'll try my hardest to keep it brief. It's not one of my greatest talents. But just to talk about a workshop that we've got coming up on Saturday, the 1st of June at the Spring Arts Centre in Havant, in Hampshire. The workshop, it's an afternoon workshop. It's called Meditation in Action, The Way of Surrender. And for anyone who's perhaps interested in coming along, maybe thinking about it, I thought if I talk a little bit about it, it might answer some questions that you have and maybe encourage some of you to sign up for the afternoon. We'll be meeting from 1 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. on Saturday the 1st in the garden room at the Spring Arts Centre. And really, the afternoon is an opportunity for us to explore together as a group what meditation in action is and how that might look in our lives. So, what do we mean by meditation in action? Well, to me, meditation in action means the way that we live from the perspective of a pure open space, or if you imagine the silence and stillness that you might find in meditation, it's how we act from that space, how we speak, think, interact, relate to others, and how we go about our daily lives, rooted, as it were, in the unconditioned. So, one way to think of it might be that when we are meditating, a part of our attention is in what we might call the witness. So we're witnessing life happening while we're meditating. So we may be watching our thoughts, witnessing our thoughts. We may be watching and witnessing present moment sounds, things that we can see, feelings in the body. Usually in meditation, particularly with a witnessing kind of meditation, we're really becoming still and quiet enough to simply observe. So a lot of people say to me, oh, I couldn't come to meditation because my mind won't stop being active. And I would normally say, well, that's exactly why you should come to meditation, or why you should at least explore it. Because we don't meditate because our minds are clear, we meditate because they're not. And so quite often in meditation, we can find that we may not feel blissful and peaceful and full of the light of pure divine essence. We might find that we encounter what's been moving underneath. So in terms of how does that look in action, that's what this afternoon is going to be all about. So we'll begin by exploring just some simple witnessing meditations, encountering the witness. And then we'll be discussing what it might look like if we were to take that awareness into the way that we act and think and move and live in the world. So an example from my own life, I know that I get completely different results from what I'm doing if I consciously drop into, or if I'm consciously aware that I surrender to uh, the intelligence of life, surrendering to the innate wisdom that I know I've encountered in meditation practice. So often, and an example might be I've got to make a phone call to a company that provide a service to me that there's a problem with. Some popular ones are HMRC or home energy companies, mobile phone companies, or we all have to manage our lives, and we all have to do things that we don't want to do. And I notice myself that if I'm in a state of resistance when I'm carrying out that kind of task, it just goes wrong. It doesn't go smoothly. I get upset and irritated, or I get anxious and put it off and don't want to do it. However, if I can stop and maybe just observe my body and how I'm feeling, observe myself, become still, and in a way encounter the capacity that I have to witness this moment, to witness the feelings and sensations in my body, not really doing anything with them, just watching them, breathing, thinking, anticipating, all of those things. We might then realize that all of that's going on, and at the same time, there's an aspect of our own um, existence that is not tangled up in all of those things. And if I can get comfortable with the fact that the two things are true, that yes, I might be feeling anxiety in my body, or irritation, or resistance to doing something that I know I have to do, but I don't want to do. And at the same time, there is an aspect of my own existence that isn't lost in that, that doesn't mind, that isn't threatened by making the phone call, or that isn't threatened by having to do something that I don't want to do. Then I carry out the action and it goes much more smoothly, because, and this is how I see it, that in that moment, I've surrendered my own actions to a greater and higher and far more intelligent force than myself alone. So I said this was going to be brief, and it doesn't feel brief at the moment. That's one of the things that we're going to be exploring in this workshop. What does meditation in action look like? And why are we exploring that? Well, so many of us experience states of deep peace, or freedom, or happiness when we're practicing, when we're not engaged in the stuff of life. So we might be doing a yoga practice, we might be walking in nature, we might be reading spiritual texts, we might be just cooking, doing things for joy, for enjoyment. And we feel good when we're doing that, but then real life starts. So you often encounter this, or we speak to people about this, people who are following a spiritual path, is that it's fine when I'm meditating, but then I have to go back to normal life. I just wish I could, have my whole life as a meditation, so that it wasn't so challenging. And that really is one of the reasons why we're exploring what does meditation in action look like. Because nothing in our life will change if we don't introduce what we find and discover in meditation. If we don't introduce it and apply it into our lives, then nothing much will change. We're going to be in this kind of pattern of, I feel good when I'm practicing, and I'm frustrated that I can't experience that feeling of goodness when ordinary life starts up again. And so we're going to be exploring that. First of all, from the just looking at witness meditation, and discussing as a group, we'll be discussing how might we begin to live these new perspectives that we find in our meditation practice, or any practice really. We're also going to be exploring what I call, and others call, it's not just my term, open-hearted awareness, which is a bit, it's sort of inclusive of witnessing consciousness, or inclusive of the witnessing capacity that we have. But it's kind of coming into the qualities of spirit, I would say, the qualities of kindness, compassion, love, unconditional love, really. And we'll notice really, especially in practice, that the qualities of open-hearted awareness are very different to just the qualities of the witnessing capacity. So when we're simply witnessing what happens, there can be a feeling of detachment, which is good. We're detaching ourselves from being twisted up in what's happening to us as a person. But at the same time, there can be a coldness to that. There can be a kind of impartiality And it can feel quite cold after a while if we're only staying in that realm of witnessing what happens. So open-hearted awareness is really diving into our sacred heart of compassion and love. So we'll be exploring that as a meditation practice. I'll be leading a guided meditation to encounter our awakened heart, the open-hearted awareness. And then we'll also be discussing how we live from that perspective. So none of these things are easy in practice. And that's why we do practice at set times so that we can apply what we are discovering in our lives. So I hope that's given a kind of overview, a bit of an insight into what we might be doing. There'll be a break halfway through where we can have tea, coffee, chat with each other. If the weather's good, then there'll be some time to spend outside. If you're local, you'll know where Havant is, but there's a train station and a bus station, and there's a car park at the Arts Centre. I think you have to pay for the car park, but there's plenty of room there usually. What else to tell you? After the coffee break, we will be exploring, we'll have done open-hearted awareness. I'll have to remind myself by looking at the actual schedule for the day. That's right, yes. So the final part of our afternoon, once we've had a coffee break, is we're going to just be exploring bringing all of those elements together and thinking about meditation in terms of surrender. So the subtitle to this afternoon is The Way of Surrender. Now, a lot of people have a problem with the word surrender. I know I certainly did years ago, but I don't think of it in the same binary terms that I used to think of surrendering. You could think of it more as allowing, accepting, like a kind of deep acceptance or unconditional acceptance. Excuse me. So what we find in simple meditation, even just simple witnessing meditation, is that the open space or the reality of here and now as a capacity, as a thing, or an open space where things are happening, has a quality of unconditional acceptance. So this moment, or the space in this room, the silence in which these words are arising and ceasing, is unconditional. It's unconditionally allowing me to make these sounds. It's unconditionally allowing, there isn't a car alarm going off at the moment, but there might be. It's the space is free for anything to happen, for things to come and go. So that's one way of describing surrender. It's not always being passive and giving in. One thing I like to think about often in terms of surrender is when we really surrender to life, to the wisdom of spirit, we might find that we stop surrendering. So if one of our patterns in life is we always give in to everybody else, we're deferential, we never stand up for ourselves, we are easily manipulated or bullied, however that might show up, we may find that by surrendering to spirit, surrendering to the open-hearted wisdom of life itself, we may find that we actually no longer give in to others. We may find that we fight back. So surrender is not always passive. And yeah, that final section of the afternoon is going to be just exploring what does surrendered action look like? What does it look like when we allow the wisdom of spirit, the wisdom of Christ consciousness, the wisdom of Buddhahood, however we like to give that a name, it doesn't really matter. It's what's important to us. But when we surrender to that, what does surrendered living look like? And what does meditation in action look like when we bring all of those aspects together? So that was not short at all, typical of me, but I hope that you found that interesting, enlightening, and a bit more informative about what we're going to be doing on Saturday, the 1st of June at the Spring Arts Centre in Havant. So if you like the sound of that, please do book a place. The link is in the description of the video below. It's also on our website on the event page. To visit the website, you'd go to thehamlinvision.org.uk. And we've actually only got 12 spaces available. The garden room is a nice, airy, light room, but it can accommodate up to 12. So if you'd like to come and you're free, please do book your place, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to book a ticket for this event, please visit www.thehamlinvision.org/events and follow the link to the event listing.